Good evening. Welcome to this public information session on the Grosse-Île wind farm project. I know that it is an English-speaking community, the bilingual status. I do understand that. However, given the governmental obligations that we have, this session will be entirely in French. But if you are part of groups of people who have a right to receive languages and service in language other than French, you can ask my colleague in the back, Madame Rachel Sebarem, and she'll indicate how we'll answer that request. There's a PowerPoint in the back, and there's an interpretation service that is offered by the initiator. And we thank them for that. They're professional translators. They said that it's possible, so tonight we're here. This is your public information session. So the idea tonight is to allow you to become informed about the project, ask your questions to the project initiator. You can also become informed about your citizens' rights to be able to make a request for a public review of the project. I will explain that a bit later during this session. We have a problem with the clicker. Joël? There's a little technical problem here. Just wait a moment, please. Great. So this evening, the evening it will happen this way. I'll explain the BAP first and why we are here before you tonight. Afterwards, I will pass the floor to the representatives of the initiator so they can present their project. That will take about 20 minutes. And then there'll be a question and answer period. Rest assured, we'll stay here. We came here at the request of the municipality of Grosse-Île. It's important that you be able to participate fully. The initiator wants you to participate fully and to answer your questions. And we'll stay in this room while there are questions. I'll explain the rules that you should follow during the question period. And I'll close out the session, the information session, and I will explain the next steps and how to do a request for a public review and what could follow after 30 days of the information period that we are currently in. So tonight, the BAP is before you. In Quebec, there's a law. It's the law on environmental quality. This law basically sets out that all projects that could have a high environmental risk must follow the series of steps to have a government decision around it being achieved or completed. The series of steps is called the assessment of environmental impacts procedure. One of the first steps of this procedure, of that series of steps, is the initiator has to do an impact study. Describes the justification for the project, its location where it will be placed, where it will be done, the impacts on environment that it could have, and any attenuation measures that the developer would like to put in place to attenuate those impacts. Once that a study is deemed receivable by the Department of Environment, that's when we come into play at the request of the minister during a 30-day period, as we are currently in, to enable you to participate in the decision-making process by the government. It's citizen engagement to allow you to participate in the development of the project. It has not yet received a decision. It is the development phase of this project. That's where we're at. This evening, our objective is to inform you. It's to inform you, to transmit some information. My role here as as I'm responsible for an information session, the people in the community should be informed about the project and be made aware of the various specific aspects of it and be able to ask questions. And we organized a public session. We also are in relationship with the municipality, the MRC, the media, citizens themselves. If you have questions, I am the resource person. You can come see me, no problem at all. And I will be able to answer your question in terms of what I can answer. I handle the BAP, but I can't speak the project. That's why the promoter is here. We can make documents available given the linguistic elements of things today. It's not everyone that can access those documents. They will be able to see the summary of the impact study. There's a few copies that you can review here. And initiator, if you go see them, they will pass it on to you. It's a public document. It's part of the project. So we opened a consultation center at the Jean Lapierre Library, but the French language documents are available on the BAP website and on the Registry of Environmental Assessments. I'm also need to inform you about your citizens' rights. You may, if you wish, ask the BAP to do a public review of the project. I will explain what that consists of later on. It's basically a public consultation. So basically, the BAP, if I should summarize what it is, it's a public impartial body. It's important to mention it. We're impartial. We fall under the minister department that's responsible for the environment, but we're impartial. We act at the request of the minister, but we're independent. We do things on our own. But our mandate is provided to us by the minister. So in our impartial role, our mission is to present recommendations and to the minister. Our different role is to inform the population, as we're trying to do during the public information session and period, through all means at our disposal. During a public consultation, the role of the BAP is to ensure consultation. Consulting people means seeking out their questions and opinions around the project. The role of the is to investigate the project, given the sustainable development principles. The sustainable development principles are in Quebec law. If you go in Google, you could do a research, Quebec sustainable development principles, the law, you'll find the law and you can review them. The final role of the BAP is to advise the minister of any recommendations around the project, given the sustainable development analysis and any preoccupations on the part of the citizens. So now we're in the information period. So I'd like to pass the floor to the project initiator for the next 20 minutes, Mr. Jean-Michel Leblanc and Madame Véronique Deperque. They will come before you to discuss the project. So I leave you in the capable hands of Mr. Leblanc and Madame Deperque. The floor is yours.
So, hi everyone, good evening. We're really happy to be here in Grosse-Île tonight to present you our Grosse-Île wind farm project. I'm Jean-Michel Leblanc. I work for Nutrinor Gilbert Énergie Renouvelable, NGE Renewable, as an operation manager for the Nutrinor wind farm, the two turbines that are between here and Pointe-aux-Loups. And I'm with NGA Renewable team with Jacques Gauthier and Maxime Gilbert in the room tonight with us. And also our partner on the project, which is the Alliance de l'Est with Mr. Simon Deschaines. And also we have our expert from Pesca Environnement with Véronique Leperque, which we mandated to do all the environmental impact assessment for the project that will be presented to you tonight. We'll try to present you, the slides are in English, I will do the presentation in French, so you can use the translation device. But don't hesitate after the presentation to ask questions. We're really here to answer all the questions that you have about the project tonight. Donc, je suis Jean-Michel Leblanc. Je travaille pour
My name is Jean-Michel Leblanc.
Renouvelable.
I work for NGE Renewables. It's my pleasure to present the Grosse-Île wind farm project tonight. So, first of all, here are our organizations, and it's our project of setting up a wind farm in Grosse-Île to contribute to the Madeleine Islands energy transition. So the Grosse-Île wind farm project is led by two stakeholders, Nutrinor-Gilbert Énergie Renouvelable. It's a 100% Quebec-based company. It was founded by the co-op Nutrinor and the family-run business Gilbert, Groupe Gilbert. We have a 50% partner. It is l'Alliance de l'Énergie de l'Est, and this organization brings together 200 communities and territories, and they make sure there are economic impacts in municipalities that host wind farms, and also that promote and strengthens and clarity in communities where we are put in wind farms. We're 50% partners with Alliance de l'Est in the Dindinor project, the Dindinor wind farm. It's currently in operation on the Madeleine Islands. There's also a team that's working in the islands that allows us to have an overview of the situation in the Madeleine Islands and the specificities associated with the Madeleine Islands. So the project justification. Why are we presenting this wind farm project to you? We've been working on it for many years. It's really a part of the Quebec's energy transition, but mostly in the independent networks of Hydro-Québec and the independent power network of the Madeleine Islands, as we well know, is powered mostly by a plant, an oil-powered plant in Cap-Omel, and it's a significant part of the greenhouse gas emissions of the provincial network of Hydro-Québec. At 16.8 megawatts, this project will allow us to reduce by 30,000 tons per year greenhouse gas emissions that are emitted by that power plant, equivalent of 10 cars taken off the road. And each year, it would lead to a reduction of 11 million liters of consumption of oil that won't be consumed at the thermal power plant. In addition to improving greenhouse gas emissions, it will add to some environmental security. There'd be less need to transport oil to the Madeleine Islands. It will reduce the costs to the operating costs of Hydro-Québec as well. This is beneficial at several levels for our population on the Madeleine Islands. So the project that we're presenting tonight is a project that seeks to meet a contract with Hydro-Québec of 6.8 megawatts. It would involve 4 wind turbines. We have studied 7 potential sightings and we'll present them in a few moments. It's a project that on public land that are under management of the maritime community and private land owned by Mines Sirène. And on that land, there are 11.3 hectares of that could be impacted by the 7 total sites. So I will now be presenting the location that we're intending to put in for the wind farm project. You see southwest to the left, bottom part of the map, the current wind farm, Dindinor wind farm. You see the 2 dots all the way the bottom to the left, and then there's some current sites, and we'll zoom in a moment to show it to you more accurately. The current project for Grosse-Île, there are 5 sites facing the Mines Sirène wharf on the ocean side, and 2 on the south side a bit before that, the 199. These are sites where there's a lot of wind. But with Mines-Hélène, it's in the salt deposit of MTQ, the Dunor wind farm. They're already industrialized zone, and they gather the wind farms in the same zone, roughly. So more precisely, you see the 7 positions where we would propose to put in the 4 wind turbines. There's a zone to the southwest before it thins out, and you arrive at the Mines wharf, Mines-Hélène wharf, where there are 5 positions being studied. Those sites were chosen in part in terms of their location. It meets the zoning and the land use. Zoning was modified to allow for a wind farm, but also to position each of those 7 potential sites. We used regulations, the setbacks from the road, in relation to different infrastructure, environmental limitations around wetlands, uses, etc. So when you put together all of those constraints that comes out of regulations and our consultations that we did in the past few years, we were able to position the sites where there was the fewest impacts.
The project that we are offering is already under development since 2022. So 2022 to 25, we did some open houses to present the project 3 times in Grosse-Île. Tonight, that's the analysis, environmental analysis time. So with the possibility that the environmental decree was given following that consultation. We aim to do the construction in 27-28. The contract is for 30 years until, and then we will have a commitment for financial guarantee to put the site in shape, like in good shape at the end of the contract. What could the construction look like for the wind farm impact? We have some pictures from Îles du Nord. You can see on the left the networks that's linking the wind turbines, and it's completely buried. And on the right side, the last, you see some the restoration. We protect the dune to protect the ecosystem and the equipment and infrastructure around the site. Another example of a construction, still Îles du Nord, to build the tower and the blades. And now for the impact environmental assessment, the study, the way we did the environmental impact assessment, on one side, we had inventories and studies about different sectors, whether it's fauna, flora, uses, and also we had the local consultation through open houses. We came in 2022, 2023, so 3 times, and consultation of stakeholders on the environment. So we have a liaison committee in place since 2019 with the project of Îles du Nord, and we pursued it with Grosse-Île, with the local stakeholders like tourism, Îles-de-la-Madeleine municipality, and also Grosse-Île, to see what the challenges and what could be the challenges be for the park and the impact, and also find ways, have measures to mitigate as much as possible all these impacts. So the challenges that were studied that stand out, they are here. So they are environmental, social, human, and economic. These are the challenges I'm going to show you in the next slides. First of all, protection of ecosystem. So for the fauna, we know that the site that's proposed for Grosse-Île is a place where there are lots of birds. So we did some studies, some inventories of the birds who inhabit or use or go through that site. And we have different mitigation measures, impact reduction, like not construction during the nesting season. For biodiversity, always, we had inventories on the whole 11.3 hectares around the 7 sites where we would put our 4 wind turbines. So that aims especially to find the places where there would be some protected species. So we know in du Nord, the protected species, we note them to make sure we don't affect them with the construction. And compared to other regions, we also have the floristic habitat of Dune du Nord that's protected. The protection of the dunes and the coastline. So during the construction, it's extremely important that the dune system and the islands to protect against erosion. So during the construction, we committed to restore the systems that would be affected by the constructions, but also for the whole of the project that's going to last for 30 years. We have a specific study on the site about erosion and submersion risks to be able to adapt the infrastructure, foundations, so that they would respond to these challenges. And we had the wish for this to include the stakeholders about erosion and submersion from the maritime community to make sure to consult different stakeholders that would be affected by erosion of the sites. Protection of wetlands, that's a very important challenge. So we have mandated we wanted an evaluation of different wetlands that could be on the site. We had like mitigation measures like the potential pathways and make sure it doesn't touch any water body. Another impact of the project where we made sure to minimize the impact, like about climate change. We know that the project has a positive impact about climate change. It would allow to diminish by 30,000 tons the plant from Capomel and diminish by 11 million liters of oil. But during the construction, we studied the different greenhouse gases that would be emitted and committed to have exemplary measures to reduce these emissions. So for the landscape, that's an important challenge for the Grosse-Île inhabitants. So since 2023, we are presenting visual simulations of what it could look like. And there, I apologize, the pictures are not very clear on the screen. We will give you the links to see that online. Visual simulations to present the wind turbines as real size. It was taken from different perspectives, and we're going to show you that very quickly on the close-up from Grande Entrée and the bridge. But this is like 3 kilometers away from the closest houses from Grosse-Île, and it's in a place that's already, there is already Mines-Hélène and Dune du Nord wind farm and the storage of sand from the transportation department. So we can see a bit the wind turbines close to Grosse-Île, what from Grande Entrée, seen from Grande Entrée, what it could look like. And here, that's a view from the bridge on Grosse-Île, just before you arrive in Grosse-Île. There is a view on the wind turbines from the Îles-de-la-Madeleine wharf. So the sound environment, that's an impact that we want to really minimize. During the construction, we committed to observe all the regulations according to the sound, and monitor, and also during operations. You can see on the screen, there is a map about wind sound environment that was prepared, like the maximum that could happen. What you see on the screen, that's the condition where there would be 7 wind turbines on the site, on each site that has been studied. The wind turbines would be functioning at max power, and the wind would be ideal to propagate the sound in all directions. So we know that sound is very much affected by the direction of the wind. So that would be the maximum you could get. So I want to make you to note that the light green is comprises Grosse-Île, and the red, and it would be up to 40 decibels. That's very like people whispering in a room. So use, maintaining land use, that's very important, obviously. So the road 199, especially during the construction period, we know we will have different components, things will have to have things going there. We plan to unload at the Capomel Wharf, and there is a transportation plan that will be presented at the end of the public consultation period, and would observe the standards from the Department of Transportation and also with CTMA to make sure not to have an impact on the use of the wharf at Capomel. So we are going to communicate with the population, just like before, and making efforts to communicate also in English all the information to notify the population about these transports. Here we will have a positive impact. All the economic benefits, like 20 employment during the construction, and some for the whole duration of life of the project. With the Alliance de l'Est, there are some fees that are paid to the municipalities, payment for each wind turbine on the land of Grosse-Île every year for the 30 years of the project, and for the maritime community, like public land and also lease that are going to be paid to the maritime community. And we have a liaison committee with different stakeholders like Grosse-Île, mayor, and economic stakeholders. So to make sure that they are aware of the needs for the construction and that we would be up to date with the expertise that meet our needs. And all of these commitments will make sense when we will be able to make sure we follow during the event, like maybe construction of the project. So we commit to have environmental assessment during construction, but also during operation, to have monitoring, make sure we, like according to the bird mortality and monitoring along the 30 years about erosion that could be on the site. So I will close by reminding you all the consultations we had for the project. Since the beginning of the project in 2022, we met with the Grosse-Île and Îles-de-la-Madeleine municipalities many times. We also had meetings like townhouse meetings Grosse-Île in 2022, in spring 2023, and in the fall 2023. And the active liaison committee, with that, we had representatives from environmental groups and tourism from Îles-de-la-Madeleine and economic development municipalities to have information about the challenges of the project. That led us to take into account these consultations to optimize and better the project since 2022. So I want to conclude saying we are presenting a project tonight that we are proud about. And we think will better the energetic resilience of the Magdalene Islands and have economic benefits for Îles-de-la-Madeleine, Grosse-Île, and that are in line with the goal of Hydro-Québec for decarbonization and standalone networks. So I thank you very much for your attention. And I will give the floor for the next part of the project. Thank you, Jean-Michel. Thank you, Véronique, for the presentation. So, Marinelle, could it be possible to share my PowerPoint? So now we are there for the questions. First, I'm going to explain about the question period. Somebody was asking, what is the public consultation? What is citizen rights? And that person will have to go. So I'm going to go ahead to provide this explanation, and then we can do the question period. So, as I told you, in a public information session, that's a public information period. It's about like you can use your rights as a citizen. So, and then there is a public inquiry that's prepared at the request of the department, and then we will go meet the population and consult them, as I told you. And then there will be an inquiry commission that's going to be the link and going to consult the minister, who can ask anybody, citizens, a group, municipality group, anybody can ask for a public inquiry, public review. No request is more important than another. If a municipality has a request and a citizen has a request, they are equal. It's very important to understand. What should it entail? Two things. First, your motives. Second, your relationship with the affected environment. Your preoccupations and so on are parts of it. And your interest. You are from the islands, and just to be clear about the project, I'm going to explain, but your request has to be mailed or emailed. It has to go to the minister responsible of the environment, not us, minister, and before the last day of the public information period. So before 19th of December coming at 23:59 hour. And then, so for the question period, my colleague Rachel is going to go around in the room and go meet you if you have questions. The only thing you have to do is raise your hand. We are going to allow to give tours, like 2 questions. We will try to cut short for the long introductions, but it's possible. Like we want to keep it flowing. So always ask the questions to me. I am the facilitator, so I will facilitate the questions and the answers. So here, it's a very respectful environment, so no problem, but I'm always here, like as a means in between. That's my role. And last thing, very important tonight, this is a public information session. So if you want to get informed, ask your questions. I can understand that some may have some preoccupations or opinions, comments, but I will ask you to keep these for yourself. Tonight, it's about asking questions. If you have opinions, preoccupations, this is not the platform. If you do a request later in public consultation, then you can express yourself about the project. Tonight, it's about to understand some aspects and to better understand some other things. So it's a platform for asking questions. If you have questions, and also last thing, if you are someone who wishes to ask a question in English, there is no problem. But according to my obligation, I have to translate into French. And then I will give the floor to the initiator, who will answer in their language of choice. I don't want to jump ahead, but maybe answer in English. That's what I understood. So for an answer in English, for an answer, if you want to need an answer in English, there will be translation. You are entitled to that service. So, yeah.
Yes, you can
okay.
Just speak in the mic. So just parler dans le...
Lowest paying electricity in all of Canada. Why would we put something like that in that's going to put it up higher?
Donc,
price is going to go up with your windmills. Everywhere in Canada has got windmills, price is up. We are the lowest paying in Canada, Quebec.
Parfait. Donc, ce que je comprends de la question, merci madame pour votre question.
So from what I'm gathering your question, it's will the project increase electricity prices? So will the project increase electricity prices, Mr. Leblanc? To you. Yes, but I'd like to stipulate that the project actually, the objective is to reduce the costs paid by Hydro-Quebec and Magna associated with their power plant. We hope to have a positive impact with Hydro-Quebec with our current our wind farm. In terms of power bills, it's a question that is relates to Hydro-Quebec. Unfortunately, I can't answer on behalf of Hydro-Quebec, but our project will have a positive impact on consumption of fossil fuels at the thermal power plant. So it'd be positive for the Hydro-Quebec costs, as well as having a positive impact for the environment by reducing 11 million of liters of fuel that is consumed by the plant. Ma'am, do you have another question?
On va passer le message. Donc, je comprends que madame peut-être répéter la question.
Well, maybe repeat the question.
Our project is made with the contract with Hydro-Quebec to reduce the oil consumption at the Grindstone power plant. And by reducing the oil consumption at the oil power plant, there's an economy on the cost of making electricity on the islands. So we cannot speak for Hydro-Quebec about the Hydro-Quebec bills, but there's an economy of fuel that have an environmental impact, positive environmental impact, but also reduce the cost of making electricity on the islands.
Excusez-moi, madame.
Pardon me, ma'am. If you can speak in the mic. It shouldn't take long.
It's going to be cheaper on fuel.
Ça sera
cheaper on electricity, but higher on fuel. Is that what you're saying?
Donc la dame demande si finalement ça va.
So she's asking if it'd be less expensive for electricity and more expensive for fuel. Is that what you're saying?
Just to be clear, the electricity made by the wind farm will reduce oil consumption, bunker fuel that is used at the grindstone power plant. So we cannot talk about for Hydro-Québec about the bills, but the project has a positive impact on the electricity costs for Hydro-Québec on the islands, beside of the environmental impact of not consuming 11 million liter of bunker fuel at the power plant, and of the economic impact of the wind farms for Grosse-Île municipality. Maybe I can ask Mr. Jacques Gauthier to give us more information, if it's okay.
Juste ici. Ouais, juste ici, le micro au bout. Vous placez en dedans de la ligne, juste vers
So
moi.
you have to be within that line.
Exact. Monsieur Gauthier,
Mr. Gauthier,
allez-y avec votre réponse.
go ahead with your answer.
Nice to see you, all of you. The question and the comments are concerned more Hydro-Québec than us, and we have a representative of Hydro-Québec here tonight. Maybe you can identify yourself. Not allowed to speak in front of you, but if you have any question or comments, you can speak with him behind. So he's here for that, okay? Thank you.
Parfait. Monsieur Gauthier, juste avant, pour un principe de
Monsieur Gauthier,
anglais-français, finalement,
just for English and French,
me dire en
could
français,
you
s'il vous plaît?
summarize what you just said?
Si vous avez des commentaires,
If you have any comments or questions that are related, they're mostly related to Hydro-Québec. There's a representative from Hydro-Québec. He's not necessarily authorized to speak in front of here, but he's authorized to speak to you when you'll have the opportunity to leave the room or at any time. Please don't hesitate. That's what he's there for.
Parfait, Monsieur Gauthier.
That's
l'idée de
great. Thank you, Mr. Gauthier.
mentionner l'idée
So
de
just to mention it,
des réponses en
the idea
anglais,
of giving
en
answers in English and French, the
et,
session is filmed
l'extrait va être mis
and
ou
the excerpt will be put up tomorrow or no later than Monday, so people can see it on Monday. So the idea is that people have the access to answers in English and in French.
Bonjour.
Good evening.
Good evening. Now, those windmills gives off radiation, right? A certain amount. Now, you got two up there now. It's very close to the north side and the bay area where lobsters spawned in that. If you put two more windmills up there, that's going to be more radiation. And it's 7 all total. Now, I work for Cape Dolphin Fishermen Cooperative. And ever since you put the windmill up there, we've had 2 biologists coming in 3 times a year during lobster season testing our lobsters. If they find radiation in any of those lobsters, they'll be closing down the lobster fisheries. And it's a damn big impact on this community. You people don't realize what you're doing.
Parfait. Merci, madame. Donc, ça, c'est un
Thank
exemple
you,
de
ma'am.
commentaire. Vous
That's
dites
an example of a comment and opinion.
d'autres personnes pourraient
I
avoir
understand
des commentaires,
that
vous êtes
ma'am and other people might have an opinion on the project.
par rapport à
She was explaining the impact that it could have
la communauté.
lobster activity in the community. I understand the idea of wanting to produce an issue, but we're here to answer questions. If you have comments or issues, as I was explaining before, it can be something that would motivate a public review if you wish to have one. It's not a public debate tonight. It's a question of, it's a platform to enable people to ask questions related to the project. As I understand it, there's a question there, nonetheless. Well, from what I'm understanding is that people are asking questions as to, do we question what the impacts might be? We presented earlier the sound impact map, but obviously there's Pesca there who we hired to study the various impacts that there could be, that the wind farm could have on the environment. So Madame Le Parc could maybe stipulate the different potential impacts that have been studied that the wind farm could have on fauna, flora, and any marine life? Yes, I understand the question was related to radiation emissions and their effect on lobsters. I'd like to reassure you, ma'am, yes, there are some assessments made on the territory. There's no aquatic environment will be involved. There will be no work done in aquatic environments, no impact that you can foresee on the water environment. So no impact that is foreseen on the lobster, thus. Thank you, Mr. Leblanc and Madame Leperc.
You're not stopping it.
Vous ne l'arrêtez. She mentioned earlier the idea of radiation, and she's mentioning it again. Will your project emit radiation? Is there radiation involved in this project? I'd like to ask Madame Leperc to stipulate if she has expertise, or if there are studies that she has seen that would point to emissions of radiation, either electromagnetic radiation that would be emitted by the wind farm. Is there any information on that? There's no radiation emitted by the wind turbine. The wind turbines will emit noise when they spin. That is something that has been studied, and the map was presented during the presentation. But no, there's no radiation that's emitted. The scientific studies show that there's no known impact from wind turbines on water-based wildlife. Thank you, ma'am, for your questions. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. We'd be pleased. The answer is no. Just to complete, the answer is no. Now it's in the development phase of the project, as I explained earlier. The project is now it has a series of steps so that the government can make a decision in terms of approving it. And in terms of the procedure and the series of steps, there's a step like this one that is for citizen engagement, where citizens can be involved in taking government decisions. And that's exactly, to clearly answer your question, no, it's not a done deal or authorized at this point.
Why weren't they put in Amherst? Why did Amherst reject them?
Excusez-moi,
And Avrobert. Why was they rejected in Avrobert? The
Donc,
windmills. Tell me that one.
Parfait. Donc, la madame demande.
She is asking why the project is being done in Grosse-Île and not in Havre-Aubert. As a wind power developer, we work as part of the land use and the zoning put in as in maritime community in the municipality of Grosse-Île. And we understand that the location that is proposed, as I was saying earlier, to put the wind turbines in the industrial area close to the Selene mine and close to the wind turbines that are already present at Dindinor. As a developer, in terms of getting another site in the other the zoning in the maritime community don't allow it, and it's to validate that unless there's a change you want to make. But we do highlight that the wind farm is 3 kilometers from housing in Grosse-Île. Thus it minimizes the impacts, the audio sound impacts, and it's an industrial site that is used by the mining sector.
They're not going to be 3 kilometers from Grosse-Île. 1 kilometer. Do your math. It's 1 kilometer.
Donc, madame.
It's 1 kilometer.
Permettez-moi de
if you'll allow, to stipulate it's 3 kilometers. So the confusion that you might have between Mines-Hélène, the facilities, the offices, and the site of the Grosse-Île Wharf. So you see what's on the map. Could you show the map? And just before, ma'am was mentioning that it's not 3 kilometers away, but 1 kilometer away. So Monsieur Leblanc is explaining his answer, the nuance. So I'll allow you to continue, Mr. Leblanc. It is truly a distance of 3 kilometers between the site and dwelling and the closest dwellings. The site is on the territory of the municipality of Grosse-Île, but 3 kilometers from a dwelling, from the nearest dwelling. So as I understand it, 3 kilometers is 3 kilometers. We're talking about the wind turbine the furthest north. Maybe not a zoom in, but it shouldn't take long. So I'm understanding that it's the northernmost wind turbine is 3 kilometers from a dwelling. That's someone understand? Yes. That's what Mr. Leblanc was saying. So, ma'am, I understand you might have other questions, but it's 2 questions every time you speak. So, to be fair, if there are other people that have any questions in the room, we go to them. And if there's no one else who has any questions in the room, is there anyone else in the room who has any questions? Go ahead, ma'am.
If it's supposed to be cheaper on fuel, what does it run on? How does it run?
Parfait. Donc, madame demande.
So, she's asking basically if it's cheaper in terms of fuel, what's the source of power for the wind turbine?
Qu'on a en grande quantité aux îles pour la transformer en énergie mécanique, donc qui fait tourner le rotor. Et cette énergie mécanique-là, dans l'éolienne, est transformée en électricité. Donc, comme par exemple, on va avoir dans un alternateur. Donc, c'est vraiment la force du vent qui est transformée en électricité par l'éolienne. Si je comprends bien la question, là, on peut préciser si c'était...
Est-ce qu'il y a une autre énergie? Peut-être moi, j'irai avec une question. Est-ce qu'il y a une autre énergie?
Just on wind alone, because when it's really a lot of wind, you have to shut them down, right?
Donc, c'est un peu la question vers où je m'en allais. Madame demande.
That's where I was heading. She's asking, there's wind, yes, but is there another type of energy used to spin the turbine when there's too much wind? Or do you stop the wind turbines? How does it work, depending on the strength of the wind? The wind turbines have a production threshold, a startup threshold. It depends on the model, actually. For example, for the Îles-de-la-Madeleine wind turbines, around 10 kilometers an hour of wind, there you start to produce. And I'll give you an example of the Îles-de-la-Madeleine wind farm. When it's around 35 kilometers an hour wind, it's maximum production, 8 megawatts, Îles-de-la-Madeleine, and we can produce up to, you can make power up to 108 kilometers per hour. Above 108 kilometers an hour, for example, what we will see tomorrow, the wind turbine go into protection mode and stop producing electricity. However, what you must understand is we produce renewable electricity. So we send our electricity into the Hydro-Quebec network or grid, and then Hydro-Quebec manages its grid to meet people's needs, be it at the Cap-Omel plant or not. So there's a certain speed. So let's say we're talking about Îles-de-la-Madeleine, which already exists. At 10 kilometers an hour, it spins the blades and you can produce energy. As I understand, yes. And the speeds, that's when you start producing, and end of production. That's to protect the wind turbine. And that all depends on the model that is chosen for that would be chosen for the Grosse-Île wind farm.
Merci pour vos questions,
Thank
madame.
you for your
Si
questions,
questions,
ma'am.
n'hésitez
Do
pas
you
à
have
lever
other
la main.
questions? You can
Bonsoir,
raise your
madame.
hand again. Hello, ma'am.
You said that you examined 7 other
Was-
sites. What other sites on the Magdalene Islands did you look at for these windmills?
Donc, madame fait mention que d'autres
So
sites
she
avaient
mentions
été,
that other
à
sites
l'étude
were
pour ce
studied
projet-là. Est-ce que vous
for this
pourriez,
project.
nous en dire davantage
Could you
sur
say a bit
ces
more
sites?
about
Oui, en
them?
fait, pour préciser,
Well,
c'est un projet
it's a
de 4
stipulate.
éoliennes.
It's a
Nous
4
avons
wind
7
turbine
sites
project,
qui
and there are
sont
7
encore.
sites.
Est-ce qu'on peut peut-être remettre la
Could
carte?
you put the map back up, please?
On va juste mettre la carte à
We'll just
l'écran.
put the
Donc,
map
on
back
parle
up
de
on the
sites
screen.
qui sont
So we're
étudiés.
talking
Ce
about the
sont
sites that are being studied.
les carrés gris.
They're the gray squares.
Gray square. Each are a site, a possible site for one of our 4 wind turbines. Donc, c'est un site là sur lequel pourrait être
These are
l'une
sites
de nos
where
4
you might
éoliennes.
you find one of the 4 wind turbines.
Juste pour compléter le
So
petit
just
complément
to
que vous
complete
demandez,
it,
est-ce que je comprends que votre projet finalement,
your
votre étude
project,
d'impact, là, ce que vous
your
avez fait
impact
pour
study
voir
that you're
si
presenting tonight,
c'est considérant 4 éoliennes,
it's
c'est
taking into
considérant
account
7
4
éoliennes, sur quoi vous êtes
wind
basé
turbines or
pour
7 wind turbines. What did you base it to do your study? As I was saying earlier, it's a 4 wind turbine project, but based on the standards of the Department of Environment, when you present a project with a certain number of sites that we'll call backup sites, to be able to have different options to place the wind turbines, we have to consider the impact that each of those sites could have. So all of the impacts in the environment impact study, the summary is available in English. All of those impacts consider a hypothesis where there'd be one wind turbine in each of the sites.
You didn't look at anywhere else on the islands?
You didn't,
Est-ce qu'il y avait d'autres sites sur les îles qui étaient
are there other sites on the islands that were
finalement ou analysés pour le
under
projet,
review or
avec
analysis
Grosse-Île,
for the
qui est
project,
présentement?
except Grosse-Île?
We have to take into account the community maritime and Grosse-Île zonage and schéma d'aménagement, urban planning. And there's only one site on the community maritime urban planning that allow us to make a project, and that's why the site.
Donc,
Decision.
excusez-moi, madame, juste répéter votre question pour que les gens
I
puissent.
said, so then it was
Sorry,
communauté
madam, could
maritime
you repeat?
that finally decides where they're going to be and not municipality of Grosse-Île?
Donc, est-ce que c'est la communauté maritime qui décide où les
Is
éoliennes
it
peuvent être
the
la
maritime
municipalité de
community that
Je
decides
peux
and
pas
not
parler pour la
Grosse-Île
communauté
municipality?
maritime ni la municipalité de Grosse-Île. Par contre, nous, comme promoteurs, on a discuté avec la municipalité de Grosse-Île et la communauté maritime là, depuis
As a promoter, we
2022.
discussed with the maritime community and Grosse-Île since the beginning of the project. And in the end, that project is joining the objectives for wind development in a space that's already industrialized and that gathers the wind turbines in a territory that's away from the housing. And so I understand it's close to Grosse-Île. That's why we are very happy to come see you tonight. But we had for our sites, one of the criteria, we don't see it on the map, but we could maybe plot it on the maps. Could we present the criteria that allowed us to select the sites? So stop the screen sharing.
Ah, voilà, merci.
So here, thank you.
Dans ces différents
So,
critères-là, il y a des critères
in these
environnementaux.
various criteria, there were environmental ones, but distance to housing also, to make sure that the wind turbines are as far away as possible from houses.
Then you were where they are now. There were 2 currently on the islands between Pointe-à-Loup and Grosse-Île. Now that map is showing some which are much closer to habitations than those ones are there. Furthermore, where the old windmill was just before Dune du Sud, that is the farthest away from any habitation. I wanted to know if there was any place else on the Magdalen Islands, not in the territory of Grosse-Île, was it looked at to build these windmills? Did you look at any place else on the Magdalen Islands before you talked with either municipality? Did you do studies anywhere else on the Magdalen Islands that would provide the same wind?
Parfait. Donc, Madame demande finalement là, qu'elle fait référence.
So Madame is talking about Dune du Nord, Dune du Sud. That's the furthest away from the wind turbines, from habitation, from houses. So wanting to know if there were other sites that were looked at on the islands outside of the municipality. Actually, it's not our responsibility as a promoter to do the regulation. So that's really a question for the maritime community. Like yesterday night, there was a question asked from some participants in the room. Could the wind turbines could be on the island of Robin? That's really a question that has to be treated by the maritime community, Îles-de-la-Madeleine municipality and Grosse-Île on another side. The current site is on a protected habitat. And at the current time, it's not allowed by the Environment Department to put new wind turbines on that site. So we are working on the project, on the Grosse-Île project, which is, on another hand, it's on the land of Grosse-Île and is going to bring back some money for the municipality during the 30 years of the project. So there will be some benefits for the municipality. Madam, I understand you have more questions. We are going to try to go around and we're going to come back to you if you have other questions. Would there be other people in the room having other questions? Go ahead. Okay, there is a lady in the back. So,
and the population clearly votes against this. Do you commit yes or no, firmly withdraw this project?
Donc, Madame demande que s'il y avait un référendum sur la réalisation de
Madame is asking if there was a referendum on the project, could the project be withdrawn? She is asking a yes or no answer. I'm trying to translate accurately. Mr. Leblanc, we cannot answer a hypothesis question like that's relevant to the municipality, but we are proud that we projected the project as soon as 2022 with the current site in 2023, and to have consulted the municipality and to have presented in a clear manner the project since now 3 years, 2022. So that's what I can tell you tonight. Thank you, Mr. Leblanc. Madam, would you have another question?
Windmills, because I watch videos, a lot of videos, and I saw where they mine these minerals to run these windmills. And so where are they coming from, those minerals? Where are they coming from?
Donc, je ne sais pas si vous avez la réponse à cette question.
I don't know if you have the answer to those questions. I will ask Mr. Leblanc. Oh, minerals. There are minerals extracted for these wind turbines to work. Can you tell us more about these minerals and where they are coming from? Exactly. So the components will depend from different manufacturers, different wind turbines manufacturers. So our responsibility as a promoter is to make sure that during the construction, we make the impacts as minimum as possible. And that's why we wish to, with the environmental assessment that we gave to an independent firm, and to put in place some recommendations to minimize the impacts in Grosse-Île. On the other hand, what we know that with the wind farm project, every year we are going to bring down by 11 million liters the consumption for the power plant in Cap-Pommel? Isn't there an impact here for environmental impact, transportation, and so on around the islands? I will ask. So I understand that the origin of the minerals, do you have some information about that? The origin of the minerals, that depends on the wind that builds the wind turbines. It could come from different places in the world. I don't have that information. And information is proper to all the specific equipments that are assembled.
So you're not saving on pollution, you're not saving on the environment, you're still going to use the same amount of fuel, whether it's with electricity or go get the minerals.
Donc, Madame pose la question finalement que
Madame is asking the question that there will be power like gas that's going to be used to extract these minerals. So that leads me to thank you, Madame, for your questions. I'm going to try to go a little bit further on that about what's about the carbon imprint for these construction of these wind turbines. Could you compare with something that could be tangible tonight? Yes, so the responsibility of the one who produces the wind turbines with the impact assessment is to assess the impact, carbon impact from the onset of the construction. That's something we did in the project, and I will give the floor to Mrs. Lippert in a second, and she will be able to share the impact of the. And if you want more information about the carbon impact for the wind turbines, there are more information on the Hydro-Québec website, and you can get this information. But as a promoter, we have to make sure for the construction, the project, to follow the carbon impact, and that's what's in our with us. Maybe you can give some more information about the carbon impact during construction of the project? Yes. The impact assessment study comprises a complete study observing the demands of the department and the emission of greenhouse gases. So the calculation of house gases that will be used for the construction of the wind farm from the time they arrive at the harbor and are transported in on site and be built, and the 30 years of operation. All these were quantified, and all the calculations are available in the impact study. So that's what it is. To give you some comparison, we calculated the variant with the max number of wind turbines, as if all these wind turbines were going to be built, 7 wind turbines for these 30 years of operation. The total would be 6,200 tons of equivalent CO2 for the construction and operation of the project. And that can be compared in 2017 around the Magdalene Islands. The consumption and emissions were 242,000 equivalent CO2. And as Mr. Leblanc said in his presentation, this is 30,000 ton equivalent CO2 less. That's going to be thanks to renewable energy generated by the project and the reduction in fuel consumption. Thank you very much for the question. Good evening. Hello.
A question because I didn't see any mention of health risks or impacts anywhere for citizens. Like, to me, that's the biggest concern, I think. Are there any possible health risks? I noticed like the noise, vibrations, they seem to be in a safe distance from citizens, but are there any other possible risks?
Donc, Madame demande s'il y a des risques des éoliennes finalement
Madam
pour
is
la
asking
santé.
if there are some risks, health risks, and there is noise, there is vibration. But talking about the risks, the study of the risks, health risks of wind turbines for. Yeah. Yes, that's a challenge. That's an important challenge to study that in the project about. So that has been studied in impact study. So, Madame Lepere, could you give a little bit more details about the risks that were identified in the study? So you mentioned the vibration. So the impact study included a modeling of the sound environment. And for emissions and health risks, if I understand, I want to make sure I understand appropriately. There is no direct effect on health that was demonstrated. And I rely on different studies from Health Canada, the NSPQ, and World Health Organization, and all these studies rely on the fact that there is no impact that has been shown on physical health from the wind turbines. Madam? Madam back, and I know you have other questions, Madam. We can come back to the problem. So good evening again, Madam.
You said there was no direct impact on your health. Come on now. On East Point, Prince Edward Island's got 6 windmills, and there's a high rate of cancer, and they were trying to get rid of them, and yet now you people want to put them here in our small community? Put them up in the west end of the island.
S'il vous plaît, je comprends l'idée d'avoir des...
Please, I understand the idea. Be for or against an idea, but we try to a respectful atmosphere. We keep that very serene and respectful. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comment. If you have a question, we can take it. If you don't have any question, we are going to go on. Are there other people in the room who have questions? Mr. Good evening.
Studies done on offshore development, putting wind farms on offshore, not onshore.
Donc, au large.
To me in English.
So offshore?
Okay, I know your Quebec laws and that shit. I warned him before. I want to know, answer in English. I come here, this Anglophone community, you answer me in English.
Donc, monsieur demande s'il y a eu des études par rapport au
Mr.
projet.
is asking if there were some studies offshore and not on land. And he was asking for an answer in English. So if you can do that,
Yes,
I will
answer
give the floor.
in English, but I will have ask us to say it another time in French after. So it's I'll do both. Sorry, the question was about offshore. If there was a study. So tonight we're talking about the project that we made about needs that were sorry, I'm searching my words. The needs of Hydro-Québec. So Hydro-Québec tells their needs and we respond to them. So the study of an offshore option for electricity for the islands will have to come from Hydro-Québec, and we cannot talk for them. It's really about it's really Hydro-Québec that can study what kind of power of electricity will be the best for them on economical basis, environmental impact basis, social acceptability, and environmental impact. I think I said it So that's really a question for Hydro-Québec. But after the meeting, you can talk with Stéphane that is here from Hydro-Québec that can give you information about what they have studied and if they had studied the option of offshore wind turbines. Donc, je vais le dire en français.
Merci, M. Leblanc.
Donc,
I'm going to say it in French. So the question about could the question be planned for offshore turbines? That's Hydro-Québec's responsibility when they define their needs, what projects can meet these needs the best. So I invite the participants and Mr. to talk with Stéphane Thériault. He's working for Hydro-Québec and will be able to explain the different sources of electricity that were studied by Hydro-Québec and the options for offshore wind turbines. Thank you very much, Mr. Leblanc, for your answer. Mr., did you have any questions? Where is
where can we find them right now?
Les études environnementales, finalement, sur
the environmental studies about that project?
sur le projet présentement.
About the
Donc, toute la
project?
documentation est,
actual project?
présente en
All the
français
documentation
sur
is
notre site
present
web,
in
sur
French on the
le site
website,
du
on our
ministère
website,
responsable
and on the
donc
website of the
régulation environnementale.
department responsible for the environment, so
Produit un résumé d'études
environmental
en anglais,
impact.
donc je suis assez sûr
And
que
the
si vous
developer
allez,
produced
le demander, vous allez
a summary of the
on en a
impact
des
study
copies que
in
vous pouvez
English,
consulter sur place.
and we have copies that you can check on site.
À la disposition des gens qui en feraient la demande,
That's
qui peuvent avoir ça sur
available
place.
for people who want to
Donc,
request
c'est
it.
ce que j'expliquais tout à l'heure.
So that's what
Je sais
I
que vous
was
êtes arrivé
saying
un petit peu en
earlier.
retard.
I know you arrived a little
L'idée
bit
dans une
late.
procédure,
The idea
monsieur, s'il vous plaît.
in the, please, Mr.
Je vais tenter de continuer la réponse.
I'm going to try to go on with my answer. The idea is that for a procedure like that involves a decision from the government. One of the first responsibility for the initiator of the project is to write a document that explains the project, the impact on the environment, and the mitigation measures that can be put in place. That was the presentation for tonight. And then afterwards, the minister asks us to inform the population. And then we have all these sessions, and that's people can use their citizen rights. Thank you very much, Mr. Go ahead.
So I want to assure you that if you give us your email or come see us at the end of the meeting, it will be a pleasure to send you the 70-page summary of the environmental assessment. Je vais devoir le dire en français pour
I have to say it in French too. We have obligations to follow, sir, but if you have need for translation, the initiator has provided translation. It's a service that we offer tonight. Thank you, Mr. Leblanc. So I'll have to repeat it in French. So for all those who want to have translation in English of the summary of our environmental impact study, it would be my great pleasure to pass it on to you. It's a 70-page summary with the various aspects of our impact study. Come see us, and we'd be pleased, well, once the meeting is done, and we'd be pleased to send it to you. Thank you, Mr. Leblanc, for that stipulation. Good evening, sir.
Study on fishing, like lobsters, herring, mackerel, things like that. I know there was a study on birds and land. Was there anything if there's an impact in water, like the distance or?
Donc, monsieur souhaite savoir si
Them five are so close to a sanctuary on the left-hand side, on that bay is a sanctuary of lobsters. Sanctuary pretty well of all the fish we have here in the bay. And on the other side is our fishing industry. So is there a study on that?
Parfait. Donc, monsieur demande s'il y a eu des études.
So he's
parce que le
asking,
projet se situe
so
près
the project
de
is
zones
located
des
close to an
morts,
area where there
la
are
faune blanche,
lobster,
qu'il y ait beaucoup d'oiseaux aux îles.
and we know that there's lots of birds on the island, but there's also fishing on the islands, which is important. So he is asking if there have been studies related to the impact under the study on fauna, generally speaking, because it concerns several types of fauna. If you want to go more precisely, the floor is yours. So, as we stipulated earlier, the project is not touching any aquatic habitat. There's no footprint, no foundations of the wind turbines that touches in the aquatic environment. Could you confirm, ma'am, if you have any aware of any studies that would show a potential impact of the wind turbines on aquatic habitat? It's in the impact study. There are some characterizations that were done of the wetlands and the water areas. As Monsieur Leblanc was saying, there's no footprint of the project located on a water environment. No work will be done in an aquatic environment, but there have been measures, preventive measures, taken by the initiator to ensure to have no impact whatsoever on any water environment. So, for example, the whole project was configured such that the wind turbines would be 60 meters away from water environments. And there's also environmental monitoring over the construction period to ensure that machinery is cleaned and there's no spills of any kind, and that those setbacks are respected. The impact study concludes that there would be no impact on water environments. So you're speaking about water environments and speaking of fauna. To come back to the basics of the questions. So your project wouldn't have any impact. Would there be an impact on lobster? Would there be an impact on birds? This is what he was mentioning birds and fish and hot lobster. I think I just answered it in terms of aquatic species. And in terms of birds, there have been studies that have been made and they've been done. We've made an inventory on the ground. There's over 210 hours of inventory done for the bird inventory for all types of species, and different measures have been taken by the initiator to limit impacts on birds. The measures related to all species and very specific measures for certain species with a special status. Sir, you have a question? Could you provide the answer in English? Is it possible?
Okay. I thought you had the translation. So as I said, there is no footprint of the project in any water body of any kind. So there is no construction activity in the water body. So we don't expect any impact on aquatic fauna. And the proponent also took mitigation measures to be sure that all the configuration of the project, all the windmill installation area will be distant of 60 meters from any water body. So to be sure that there is a good distance to avoid any potential impact. And then I completed my answer talking about potential impact on birds. So yes, again, we've done a lot of studies, field inventories regarding birds. We've done more than 210 hours of field inventories just on birds, any kind of species, and we've also done specific field inventories for the protected bird species. So you have all of those studies in the impact study assessment, and the proponent also had engagement to reduce the impact on birds. So again, engagement to reduce the impact on every kind of species, and also they took specific engagement about protected species, protected bird species.
Parfait. Merci, Madame Lepec, pour ces réponses en
Thank
anglais
you
et
for
en
your
français.
answers in English and in
Si,
French, Madame
si vous avez
Lepec.
une autre question,
Do you
monsieur,
have another question, sir?
Parfait.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's been answered.
Est-ce qu'il y a
Great.
d'autres personnes dans la salle qui auraient
Is
des
there anyone else
questions?
in the room who has any questions?
Donc, ça semble. Écoutez,
Well,
allez-y, madame.
go ahead, ma'am.
On est là pour ça.
We're here for that.
The longevity, about how long do these last? You have a contract for 30 years. So is that about the lifespan of the windmills?
Donc,
the
madame,
turbines?
madame demande la
She is
longévité
asking, what is the
choisie
service life of the project?
Vous l'évaluez à 30 ans. Est-ce
Do
que
you
c'est
assess it at 30
plus
years?
loin
Is that the
ou
service life
un
of
peu
the
plus loin,
wind turbines?
qu'est-ce qui se passerait
And after
finalement?
30 years, what would happen?
So the contract that we have with Hydro-Québec is 30 years. So after 30 years, we have to evaluate if another contract could be done with the state of the wind park in 30 years, and also the state of the erosion and all the site after 30 years. But because there's a possibility to do a repowering of wind park when the contract is done, is ended, that there can be extension, or they could also have a change of component on the wind park to extend their lifespan. But as we talk now, we have a contract for 30 years, and we have an engagement at the end of the contract to take out the component of the wind park and remake the site. I'm sorry, I'm searching my word, but remake the site on the environmental site that was before the park. Donc, on a un contrat de 30
We have
ans.
a 30-year contract. There could be an additional contract with Hydro-Québec, would be assessed then. With all wind farms, there can be extensions. It's based on the park. It would be assessed after 30 years, and we have a commitment in that part. When that contract is done with Hydro-Québec to restore the site to its initial condition. That's great, ma'am.
My question was, how long can those windmills last? Because you cannot recycle them once they, from what I've read and what I've studied, they're not recyclable. The blades, like those huge big blades. So how long will they last? We're in a salt air environment besides. So what is the longevity of the windmill itself? Not the contract, but the machinery.
Parfait. Donc, petite précision, la durée de vie de la machine en elle-même.
What's the service life of the machinery itself? And she brought up the idea of recycling the blades. So if you were to dismantle the project, is it possible to recycle it? What would you do with it?
I understand that there's
Je
two parts
comprends.
of the question. So the first part, the lifespan, we will choose wind turbine type that can have a lifespan that match the contract that we have with Hydro-Québec. For the other part, if we have to change part on the park or at the end of the contract with Hydro-Québec, when we will dismantle the park. We have also an engagement to take care of the residual waste that we will have, and we will do it in 30 years at least with the best practice in the industry.
Excusez-moi, madame, on va juste lui permettre de dire en français, puis ensuite on vient.
Ma'am, we're just going to say it in French too.
Donc, il y a deux parties à la question.
There's two parts of this question. Will we have wind farms, wind turbines that are sufficiently a service life that's long enough for the contract? Yes, it's part of the conditions. We need a model that would allow us to observe our contract with Quebec, Hydro-Quebec. At the end of the wind farms service life, we'll make sure that the components are processed according to best industry practices in 30 years. Thank you, Mr. Leblanc. Now it's ma'am for her question.
Will you bury it like Hydro-Quebec did with the oil that time, or will you take it off the islands?
Donc, essentiellement, la dame veut savoir, est-ce que vous allez enterrer les pales?
You're going to bury the blades if it doesn't work? Or are you going to bring them somewhere else? What are you going to do with the blades, basically? Well, obviously, our commitment is to process the blades according to best industry practice. We would foresee that unless there are solutions that would develop here on the islands in 30 years, you'd need to bring the blades into specialized facilities that would be in Quebec or elsewhere in the country, based on best industry standards.
We have an engagement and financial engagement with the contract with Hydro-Quebec to take care of the residual waste and take care of the dismantlement of the park with the best practice in the industry. Well, between us, I don't think that the recycling facility will be in the islands, but I don't know what facilities will be in the islands in 30 years. So if we have to ship them to facilities outside of the islands, we will do it with the best practice in the industry.
Excellent. Merci, M. Leblanc, pour ces réponses. Est-ce que vous avez une autre question, madame? Non? Parfait. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres personnes dans la salle qui auraient des questions?
Is there anyone else in the room with a question?
Allez-y, monsieur.
Go ahead, sir.
Bonsoir.
Good evening.
Well, maybe we can ask for the 70-page report on the impact be sent to the office, and anyone that's interested in having one, then we can make sure it's translated and handed out here.
Parfait. Donc, monsieur fait part que.
So he is sharing that there are documents that are in the municipality for any person who would like to have a copy, and they can access it at the municipality. Pardon? Can we go?
Madame, bonsoir.
Good evening, ma'am. Just to correct her question a bit, he wanted to know if at the end of the night, if I could go get a copy of the environmental study to bring to my office, and if people who are concerned or want to see it, then I can show it to them afterwards. I made a mistake. Could you provide that copy of the municipality?
To give the summary of the environmental assessment study to Grosse-Île municipality to the benefit so it can be accessed by everyone. Yes, it would be a pleasure. Donc ça va nous faire plaisir.
Merci, Monsieur Leblanc.
It would be our pleasure.
Donc, si vous avez d'autres questions, je vais juste
if you have questions, I'm just going to continue with my presentation. If you have other questions after, we'll come back to them. So this is I'll come back to how to put in a request. The idea of a public information is for people to inform and also to become informed of their rights as citizens. And if they want to ask for a public review, who can do a request for public review? Anyone can do it, or any municipality can do it. They must contain your reasons for your request and your relationship with the environment impacted by the project. So your questions can serve as reasons. How to formulate the request? It must be done by mail or by email. It must be sent to the Minister, Department of the Environment, not to the BAP. It's important to mention that. And the request must be sent no later at the end of the information period of 30 days, no later than 19 December 19th, 2359. After the information period, 30 days, closing out December 19th. After December 19th, we will produce a summary of the information period and the measures that we've taken up to inform the population, the different measures that we've done to allow people to inform themselves about the project, to become aware of the project and the session and issues that were raised yesterday in Fatima and tonight in Grosse-Île and over the web. If we receive a request for a public review from December 19th, if there's one or several requests deemed receivable by the BAP, then the minister, then they can give us a mandate for a public review. There are 3 types of mandates that allow people in the public consultation to become informed once more and ask questions before a commission of inquiry. People from the ministry, people invited by the commission. The commission's mandate is to do an analysis of the project and make recommendations. They will have questions as well to ask certain departments and certain organizations. And the proponent will be there to present their project and answer questions once again. Population will be able to express their concerns and their opinions around the project. Then you can do that. Afterwards, the BAP writes a report at the end of the mandate. The report is handed over to the minister, and then in 15 days following, the report is made public, and we will communicate. If you wish to be informed of our various activity and our various communications, I would invite you to leave us your email, and I will send all that to you with pleasure. So if you, tonight, what we're doing is for you, it's for the population. So if you would like to leave some comments on what you've liked and what you would like to see different or what you found not as good, it's my pleasure to have your comments. I work for the public and I would like to inform the public. So it's the BAP as well. So we'll take your comments, receive your comments. Unfortunately, they will be in French. So if you wish to send your email by email, I'll provide an email where you can send your comments as well. My contact info is on the screen. If you have any questions from here to December 19th, don't hesitate to contact me. I'll be pleased to answer you. And if I can't answer these questions, and it's something that the proponent can answer, I will convey the questions to the proponent. Yesterday, there were questions that were asked over the web, some technical issues, so some emails weren't sent, so some questions were asked online that we couldn't, so I'm just going to get the questions quickly. It won't take long.
Donc, Madame Sylvie Leblanc, qui vit aux îles, voulait savoir comment serait géré le budget de démantèlement. Je la lis là, texto. Mettons que le projet ne se rendrait pas au terme prévu des 30 ans. Le budget éolien estimé, et ce montant serait-il...
Let's say the project would not reach the 30 years, and it would be, the project would be... So, in the contracts we have with the Hydro-Québec, there are some financial warranties that has to be provided at different times in the project to ensure the decommissioning. It's a bit different, but that answers in essence the question. These are financial warranties that have to be, it's not like, it's a bit different. It's not like a trust, but there are some guarantees that have to be provided. Are there recent available impact studies about marine life and about water? And maybe we talked about it a bit, but for the benefit of Mrs. Leblanc, maybe we can look and have an answer. So, so you were talking about what, like sound, infrasound. Could you give some more information? I understand we are talking about more. As I was saying, there is no part of the project that's going to be located in a water body. I understand, but infrasound are present everywhere in the environment, like the waves, the sound of the waves, the sound of leaves. They emit infrasounds. So these are natural elements. There is no study showing an impact of infrasounds on health. Perfect. Thank you, Mrs. Lepec. There was also a question from Mr. Lafrance that I asked my colleague, who said it had not been asked, and unfortunately, I didn't see it. I was reading email, I didnn't see it, but I'm going to look at that more precisely, in more detail, if there is a question that Mr. Lafrance did not ask yesterday. Mr. Lafrance, maybe you are looking this afterwards. If I find a question, I will transmit to the initiator, who will provide an answer within 2 working days. So that will end our public information session. Thank you very much, all of you who came, despite the temperature. We were doing this session for you, so I'm very happy you showed up. If you have any questions beside the session, it will be a pleasure to answer you. Thank you very much and drive safe.